I would like to note that the interpreter for this evening is Ashley Arciniga. Ms. Arciniga, would you mind raising your hand? And if you need a listening device, you can please go ask her for the interpretation services. Antes de llamar a la Junta ahora, me gustaría notar que contamos con servicios de interpretación para esta Junta. La señorita Ciénaga está sentada atrás. So, City Manager, Mr. Watson, would you like to give the closed session report?
Madam Mayor, I can do roll call first. and
Okay,
then-
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Madam Clerk, can you do the roll call?
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez. Here. Councilmember Flores. Here. Councilmember Soto. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Escobedo.
Here.
Mayor Patino.
Here. Okay. Mr. Watson, would you like to give the closed
Thank
session
you, Madam Mayor.
report?
With respect to item 3A, instructions were provided to the labor negotiators and council. No further report is necessary at this time.
Thank you. And is Candace Lott here? Oh, she's here. Okay, so we'll start with the presentations, and Councilmember Soto will be presenting the first one.
Thank you. Whereas Arbor Day is celebrated nationally to encourage Americans to maintain and replenish the country's vast forests, orchards, urban areas, and woodlands. And whereas Arbor Day is celebrated nationally to encourage Americans to maintain and replenish the country's vast forests, orchards, urban areas, and woodlands. Arbor Day is celebrated throughout the nation by urging residents to observe the day with appropriate tree planting activities and programs. And whereas the residents of Santa Maria recognize that trees are a vital resource in beautifying the community's environment and relieving our carbon footprint and serving as a valuable economic asset in the city, maintaining or increasing property values and attracting businesses and new residents to Santa Maria. And whereas by educating children in the community of the importance of trees, the City of Santa Maria Recreation and Parks Department is working to ensure Arbor Day remains an important day to future generations and is coordinating activities with local schools to educate children on the many benefits trees provide, as well as the history of Arbor Day. And whereas through an Arbor Day proclamation, President Theodore Roosevelt announced a people without children would face a hopeless future. A country without trees is almost as hopeless. The president's message still rings true today. And therefore, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognizes April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day in the City of Santa Maria and invites all residents and businesses to celebrate and take pride in the festivities of planting trees and acknowledging the important role that trees have in the city. And this proclamation is to be accepted by Candace Lott, Alvin Elementary School teacher.
Ms. Lott, would you like to say a few words at the podium?
Thank you so much to Mr. Scott and Mr. Gonzalez and the whole crew that came out to Elvin School and set up a field trip with my 4th grade class to inform them, teach them about the importance of trees, and also let them get their hands dirty and plant some trees right here in the city. It was a really educational and fun field trip for my students. So I would love to see more of this happen in the city of Santa Maria. It was really nice. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will be presenting the next proclamation. Whereas William Alvin Newton honorably served the City of Santa Maria as a dedicated firefighter for 7 years with the Santa Maria Fire Department. And whereas firefighter Newton was known for his bravery, professionalism, and commitment to protecting the lives and property of the residents of Santa Maria. And whereas on April 25th, 1970, at the age of 35, firefighter Newton gave the ultimate sacrifice while battling the Bradley Hotel fire, a large and dangerous blaze that engulfed a vacant wooden structure scheduled for demolition. And whereas while directing water into the flames from atop a retaining wall adjacent to the structure, firefighter Newton was tragically pulled into the fire when the building collapsed. And whereas firefighter Newton's heroism and selflessness reflect the highest ideals of public service, and his loss was deeply felt by his fellow firefighters, the city of Santa Maria, and most profoundly by his loving wife and 3 children. And whereas it is fitting and proper that the city of Santa Maria honor firefighter Newton's legacy, courage, and sacrifice by designating April 25th, 2025 in his memory. Now therefore, I, Alice Zampatino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, do hereby recognize April 25th, 2025 as William Alvin Newton Day in the City of Santa Maria, and have caused the seal of the City of Santa Maria to be affixed hereto this 15th day of April, 2025.
Madam Mayor, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. And thank you to the audience, council, everyone else in the room. I'm trying not to cry. Beside me are 2 of Alvin's children, Dina and Randy. I can only imagine the pain they felt 55 years ago when that tragic day struck their family and the fire service family. It's a testament to the bravery of the family to go on and to live and to keep honoring and remembering their father, and for us to help and love on them. Love is the answer, and I think this room gave them a pretty big boost to that, so thank you. The family would like for me to read on their behalf words of acknowledgement to the city and other supporters. Thank you, Santa Maria. We, the family of William Alvin Newton, would like to thank the Vernon Group for putting Dad's name back into the limelight. We'd also like to thank the following: the Santa Maria Fire Department and Santa Maria Firefighters Local 2020 for never forgetting Dad. To Mr. Bolton for sharing his memories of the event. He was going to be here tonight, but he fell ill, and he was witness to the death of Alvin. Retired engineer Mike Canales for bringing everyone together years ago to document their memories. Union President Matt Chirkow for all he has done. A special thank you to Andrew Klein for all he is doing, not only for my dad, but for all the firefighters. And of course, thank you to the City of Santa Maria for this day so everyone will know of his ultimate sacrifice for the city he loved. So in closing, thank you everyone, council, Madam Mayor, dignitaries, fire family, and audience. Thank you for the love. Thank you. Never forget Alvin. Thank you.
The next proclamation will be Alcohol Awareness Month, and Councilmember Escobedo will be making the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's an honor to present this proclamation. Whereas April is Alcohol Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness and understanding of how alcohol use and misuse impact our community. Alcohol-related problems take a heavy toll on individuals of all ages and families. This month serves as a call to action to prevent drinking and driving, because these strategies are preventable and should never happen. And whereas alcohol-related problems continue to take a significant toll, with researchers estimating more than 178,000 alcohol-related deaths each year, making alcohol a leading preventable cause of death in the United States. Alcohol is a major factor in the deaths of people under the age of 21, with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, reporting that excessive drinking leads to more than 3,900 deaths and 225,000 years of potential life lost along youth people annually. And whereas youth who begin drinking before the age of 15 are 6 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence or misuse later in life compared to those who start drinking at or after the age 21, impaired driving remains a significant public safety concern, with an average of 28 people killed every day due to drunk driving and 2 out of 3 people impacted by impaired driving in their lifetime. And whereas the Office of Traffic Safety's 2022 report states that were 489 DUIs arrests, 95 alcohol-involved victims injured or killed, and 7 underage drinking victims killed or injured in our community. And whereas local youth data highlights the need for continued education and prevention, with 5% of 7th and 9th graders, 9% of 11th graders, and 19% of non-traditional students reporting past 30-day alcohol use, and a concerning percentage of students indicating there is little or no harm in occasional drinking. Fighting Back Santa Maria Valley Coalition plays a critical role in addressing alcohol-related uses by increasing awareness, promoting prevention, and encouraging responsible choices to ensure a healthier and safer community. Now, therefore, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby proclaim April 2025 as Alcohol Awareness Month in the City of Santa Maria, and encourage all residents to join in the effort to prevent alcohol misuse and promote healthy choices for a stronger community. And this recognition will be accepted by Fighting Back of Santa Maria Valley's Youth Coalition.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, esteemed council members, and community members. My name is Adilene Espinosa, and I'm a senior at Pioneer Valley High School. We are a part of Fighting Back Santa Maria's Valley Youth Action Coalition. Our mission statement is to partner with all members of the community to achieve resilience against substance abuse, reduce violence, and promote a healthy and safe environment for our youth and our families. Even though we are young members, we carry the same goals that our adult members have, and that is to address tobacco and cannabis use, excessive drinking, and underage drinking. Since 1987, the National Council on Alcohol and Drug Dependence, otherwise known as the NCADD, has honored April as Alcohol Awareness Month to help increase public awareness on the dangers of alcohol and help reduce stigma for those who are seeking treatment. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Juan Martinez, and I'm an 8th grader at Tommy Coons Junior High. I believe it is important to address the dangers of alcohol because if we don't address it, it can become normalized in our community. For example, at children or family parties, many adults often tend to abuse alcohol, and sometimes there is more alcohol than juice, which sets a bad example for the children. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and esteemed council members and community members. My name is Diego Ramirez, and I am a 7th grader at Jimenez Elementary. I personally feel affected by alcohol because recently my uncle passed away because of complications from abusing alcohol and also tobacco products. I feel upset because me and my uncle were really close, and I feel like if he sought out help earlier, he would have had stopped drinking excessively. At my school, I see a lot of people bragging about drinking alcohol, and I see this as an issue. I would like to continue spreading awareness about alcohol and other substances to educate my peers. Thank you, Madam Mayor, esteemed council members, for not only your time, but also continue to support in keeping our community educated and safe. It's an honor to receive this alcohol awareness proclamation. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
I just want to make a comment.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Escobedo.
Well, congratulations, guys, for showing up. And people say that you guys are the future. I dissent. I think that you guys are the present, and you guys can make a difference. Whatever you move, advocating and making people accountable, especially us, because when a minor usually gets a hold of a drink, an alcohol drink, it's an adult who's behind, who's been neglecting. And an invitation, I've participated in a couple of, witnessed a couple of DUI checkpoints in the city of Santa Maria. And something I've seen is people posting on social media where they are. So other people avoid that. So just be mindful, whoever is watching us and everybody who's here, that's not caring about your community. Drinking or driving is not caring about yourself, your neighbors, or your family. So never drink and drive. There's a lot of options. Ask for a friend, ask a family. There's so many different options like cop, and just be mindful that, and this is an item actually it's very dear to me and my family, because we had relatives that had lost their life because of this. And we have in our community as well people that die. And that's not fair for nobody. So thank you guys for advocating. Thank you to Fighting Back Santa Maria Valley, Mr. Weaver. You guys do a great job, and looking forward to keep supporting you guys.
Thank you very much. The next proclamation is the National Day of Prayer, and Councilmember Flores will be making that presentation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's an honor to be able to do National Day of Prayer because I'm a firm believer that prayer changes things, situations, at any time. And I'm so excited that we're going to be celebrating National Day of Prayer May 1st. So accepting the proclamation is Nuri Roman, and it says, whereas National Day of Prayer is an annual event established by the Act of Congress, which encourages Americans to pray for the nation, its people, and its leaders. And whereas Day of Prayer has been called for since 1775, when the Congress designated a time for prayer in forming a new nation, and whereas in 1863, Abraham Lincoln called for such a day, and whereas officially, Day of Prayer was established as an annual event by an act of Congress in 1952 and was signed into law by President Truman, and whereas the law was amended in 1988 and signed by President Ronald Reagan, establishing the Day of Prayer on the first Thursday of May of each year. And whereas Day of Prayer affords everyone the ability to exercise their freedom, to gather, to pray, to unify hearts, communities, and the country while holding dear their faith, freedom, and to one another as fellow Americans. And whereas in Santa Maria Valley Community of Prayer is celebrating its 28th annual Day of Prayer and continues to host one of the largest Day of Prayer gatherings in the state of California. Now, therefore, I, Alice M. Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognize the first day of May 2025 as National Day of Prayer in the City of Santa Maria, and encourages people of all faiths to participate in the Day of Prayer.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the proclamation on behalf of the community of prayer. I'm here to share a Gen Z perspective on how prayer has been and will continue to be a powerful tool for positive change in our community, state, and nation. You might know us as the host of Santa Maria's Prayer Gathering, a time when constituents from all walks of life unite to pray over issues that deeply affect how our society functions, quality of life, and your safety. But one prayer I want to bring to your attention today is government, and that includes all of you here today. While they may never be a perfect system, we believe our leaders, from the president to the governors, police chiefs, and city council, can lead with fairness, justice, and wisdom, because all great decisions start in the mindset. And our mindset is influenced by the good and bad. In prayer, we speak words into the air with intention, speaking life, hope, and wisdom into situations that affect us all. And those words, spoken in unity, create momentum, influencing how we think, how we feel, and ultimately, how we make decisions. We see this from the very beginning in the first chapter of Genesis. God spoke life into existence. He said, "Let there be light," and there was light, showcasing how words carry power. Following in the footsteps of God, throughout the year we participate in many of the local events in our community here, tabling and offering prayer on a one-on-one basis to anyone. And time again, we witness real change in that moment. Because prayer was done, both hearts came into agreement, and change came about, like miracle healings, emotional relief, clarity, resolution, and so much more. So now when hundreds of us come into agreement and pray for our government to lead justly, for our education system to provide real development, for media to inform truthfully, for families to be unified, for churches to serve, for businesses to thrive, and for our military to protect and make wise decisions, it's the start of the shift. These are complex topics, easier said than done, but I've been a witness of prayer changing things. So we're very excited for you to join us on May 1st. And for more information, you can visit our website, communityofprayer.org. So once again, thank you for your continued support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Flores.
I just want to thank Veronica, the president, for all that she does. Stand up, Veronica. She's always everywhere that people need prayer, she's there. She makes herself available, and I'm so blessed to call her my friend. And thank you for having National Day of Prayer here in the city of Santa Maria and bringing us together. It doesn't matter what faith, but it's bringing us together. So I want to say thank you.
The next proclamation will be 2025 Boys and Girls Clubs of Mid-State Central Coast Youth of the Year, and Councilmember Aguilera Hernandez will be doing the presentation.
Going to be presenting for Ruth, who's going to accept as Ruth Sinico Luna. So whereas Ruth Sinico Luna has demonstrated exceptional leadership, academic excellence, and community involvement, and whereas Ruth Sinico Luna has given 315 hours volunteering with projects that benefit our community, and whereas Ruth Sinico Luna embodies the values of leadership and service, academic achievement, and healthy lifestyles, as well exemplifies the impact the Boys and Girls Club movement has had on their lives, and whereas Ruth Sinico Luna serves as a role model for other young people in our community, and whereas Ruth Sinico Luna honorably represents clubs and club members at the Boys and Girls Club Central Coast region, and whereas on March 13, 2025, Ruth Sinico Luna was recognized by the Boys and Girls Club of Mid-Central Coast as 2025 Youth of the Year. Now therefore, Allison Patino, Mayor of the City of Santa Maria, hereby recognizes and congratulates Ruth Sinico Luna for the 2025 Boys and Girls Clubs of Mid-Central Coast Youth of the Year for this outstanding accomplishment. We extend to Ruth our deepest appreciation for all her dedicated work and wish her the best in all her future endeavors. In witness thereof, we have the mayor has here to set her hand and has caused the seal of the City of Santa Maria to be affixed hereto this 15th day of April, 2025.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mina Donkor, and I'm the Director of Teen Services with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Mid-Central Coast. We want to thank you so very much for recognizing Ruth today. She really exemplifies what the Boys and Girls Club mission is. She's a great student. She helps advocate for her community, and she gives back. Recently, she's helped us in helping teens with their mental health. We promoted resources for parents for extreme heat, for water conservation, and most recently we went to Sacramento to advocate for funding for out-of-school programs, and Ruth was able to come and talk to the assemblyman and senator about that. So we really recognize her, and we're so very proud of her and hope to see where she's gonna turn out. So thank you.
I want to thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council, for giving me this proclamation. I'm honored to receive it, and I hope that I am an inspiration for my fellow youth and that I can carry on this positivity and role model where I'm heading off to now that I have been admitted into college. And I really hope I can come back to Santa Maria and have caused an impact in the youth and the people surrounding me and give back to Santa Maria that has given me a lot, and I appreciate this proclamation a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
Ruth, I want to say, Ruth, did you hear me?
Ruth.
I want to say something. I want you to know that you don't only inspire the youth, but you inspire the adults in the room as well, because, you know, people like to say that teens are not living up to their full potential, but that's not true. Look at all the young people who are here today. So I want you to know that all of you guys, it takes one person to make a difference. Takes one person to make a change, and you're all here. But Ruth, thank you so much, because you do inspire me personally. So thank you so much for all the hard work you've put in.
Ruth,
Mr.
I have a
Escobedo?
question for you. You mentioned that you were accepted to college. What are you going to be studying? UC Davis.
UC Davis.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you all for already giving to your community. It's very much appreciated. The next presentation we'll have is the presentation of a status update on encampment response efforts. And giving the presentation will be our Assistant City Manager, Mr. Wu.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. This is an update on homelessness and encampment response. Today's presentation will include more information regarding costs and also our goals and objectives. So I wanted to talk about costs in kind of a broader sense as far as how much California has spent, as this is a statewide issue and concern. Statewide, California has spent $24 billion to address the issue. And it sounds like a really big number, and that's because it is. It's money that has been spent on anywhere from housing and rental assistance, physical and mental health outreach, case management, and funds to purchase motels and other types of temporary housing. As we see these money funnel down into local communities, we've seen Santa Barbara County receive, actually there's a typo there, it's $16.5 million through the California Encampment Resolution Funds. And these are funds that are usually provided through service providers such as Good Sam or New Beginnings, and primarily spent on outreach. And I'll get into the city costs. The city costs, it's roughly $1 million, and I'll get into how that money is spent. The staff report includes more of a detailed breakdown of the city costs for addressing homelessness and encampment response, but primarily it's staff, contractor costs for cleanup, and also money that we've provided through CDBG. And so for staff, we usually spend in the range of $600,000, $700,000 per year towards encampment response and homelessness. The staff report has a table breakdown between police, rangers, and code enforcement. Most of the costs are within rangers that provide continuous monitoring of the riverbed, and also in addressing encampments in our right-of-ways and our parks, but certainly our community services unit in police provide many hours in addressing these issues. Code enforcement is primarily there for working with property owners and businesses and shopping centers in helping them strengthen their properties against encampments. So police, again, our CSU unit, they respond to any illegal activity, including but not limited to trespassing, littering, stealing, fighting, unlawful camping, parking RVs over 72 hours. Our rangers within recreation and parks patrol the parks and the riverbed daily. They also clean up the trash left behind by encampments, medians, and landscape areas. And again, code helps with working with property owners. I do have Sergeant Felix Diaz with PD here and Sergeant Ruben Ramirez. I have a series of photos, and I actually like to invite them to go through some of these photos as I go through the rest of this slide deck here.
just some of the encampments, we kind of come along, people either report it or our officers kind of vigilant reporting several different encampments. And generally we'll come, give them a notice, offer them the services. And at that point, if they don't clean it up, then it's on us for quality of life issues to kind of pick it up and get rid of what's trash, what's not. Here's another example of kind of the things we come across. And this is sometimes we don't do cleanups for about a week or two, and just things start piling up. Certain encampments start getting larger, and that's kind of what we're trying to prevent, is that quality of life where these encampments get too out of hand and out of control for us to kind of handle. Another makeshift apartment house we had built. Just another incident related to encampments. Again, just a lot of garbage generally that's piled up that we have to generally clean up, or with the help of 2M.
Yeah, the worker in the pink, that's a 2M contractor.
We've had several encampments that are going below ground. We've been covered in the last few months, basically doing burrows inside the ground. This one in particular was almost like a one-bedroom little apartment underneath the ground. So they're getting a little sophisticated in kind of what they're doing with their encampments, some on private property, some on public property. They turned this dumpster into a makeshift apartment, took out the trash can and made it their little apartment studio. And then again, the waterways, we see a lot of the waterways. This is over at 8th Street and La Brea. They're making encampments inside of the waterways, which is a safety concern for water district.
So thank you, Sergeant Diaz. So again, it really takes a consistency and a diligence to make sure that our communities and neighborhoods are clean. After these camps are cleaned up, we do see them emerge in other locations. So again, it's a consistent and persistent effort. This is a video that's provided by Sergeant Ruben Ramirez, and so we'll watch the video, and then Ruben, you can certainly provide some comment on this.
Right now we're at the corner of Miller and Enos Drive, and you can see that there's the bush right here. These go all the way down from Miller and Stone to San Isidro and Miller. This is a very common hotspot for the young house to find shelter, as it's secluded and very concealed. As we walk through the walking trail, you'll see that we have an abandoned camp back here, which basically consists of a blue tarp, some flat cardboard to lay down on, but this is a very secluded part of the area, and it offers a lot of concealment, and as you can see, there's a lot of debris and trash along the area. So the next step forward is to contact the Parks Department to schedule a cleanup, and some of the steps that the Parks Department has taken is pruning the bushes back to make openings so that way officers can see when they're driving by, and to deter the unhoused from setting up encampments over here.
Well, my video pretty much explained everything, but we felt that it'd be good to provide a video to the council members and some of the department heads versus a picture. You actually have the video to see what's going on. As mentioned, the Parks Division has gone down the Miller corridor all the way from Miller and Stoll to Miller and San Isidro. We've already taken the steps to prune back some of the bushes, but we continue to have that issue with the unhoused where they're still finding their way back there. This is a very clean abandoned encampment, but previously, weeks before, it was a lot worse, and this is the type of things that we're seeing along that Miller corridor where we have the students walking to and from school. We have the members of the Santa Barbara County building on Broadway. They utilize that walking path, so they are walking past a lot of these encampments where there are illegal activities like narcotics use or alcohol or just the illegal camping as a whole.
So between police and rangers, we talk about costs, it's really the equivalent about 6.5 full-time personnel that's addressing homelessness on a daily basis.
Now we're at the corner.
And we do have a city task force that meet together on a regular basis between the departments. And in terms of our defined goals, our goals primarily is to ensure clean and safe neighborhoods in Santa Maria. I think we recognize from where we are as a local jurisdiction and as a city, that's where most of our resources can be directed towards. The counties and our service providers, they have more of an ability to address the social aspects of homelessness, and we certainly participate in that coordination and we support them in those efforts. But in terms of ensuring clean and safe neighborhoods, that's what we do. That's what we do with PD, rangers, and code. And so our objective is to first really clean and prevent the establishments of encampments. And this is through 72-hour noticing, asking individuals to vacate camps, and not just that, but connect them to the service providers. Every time our officers go out, they keep with them phone numbers and names and places where they can direct the individuals to get help. And so that's every day. That's part of what they do. But in addition to the cleanup, it's monitoring. So the Santa Maria Riverbed, the rangers are providing daily monitoring. If they see new camps, they work on addressing those camps. And for the Riverbed, as we had discussed in the past, it's coordination with Santa Barbara County, San Luis Obispo County, and Caltrans. We'll continue to work with the private property owners, shopping centers, properties adjacent to frequent encampment areas such as the railways, and help our property owners also comply with keeping their properties clear. And there are also things that we encourage them to do, such as trimming vegetation, clearing brushes, and restricting access. Sometimes it requires repairing fences. We want to make it easy for residents and businesses to report encampments. We have the city's Neighborhood Connect app and website portal that has been very effective in allowing residents to report any types of activities. And we're also evaluating other ways to enhance access to the city, whether it's a hotline or phone number. Right now, anyone can call our non-emergency hotline, but also I know our officers frequently give out their direct lines to property owners so that they have a direct contact anytime an issue arises. And also, as I mentioned, the departments, we have a unified enforcement front. That's something that we're continuing to work on. PD, Rangers, Code, but also City Manager's Office, City Attorney's Office. All of our departments are working together in addressing this issue. And we do want to also leverage other public safety measures to reduce crime related to the transient population. PD and Ranger, they've talked about whether it's implementing a bicycle registration system or educating and enforcing the city's shopping cart ordinance. So there are other public safety measures that we can take to address homelessness, even though it's not specific to encampments. PD also mentioned conducting evaluations of individuals that are under the influence and to take the appropriate actions as needed, including charges and enforcement. So when we talk about homelessness and encampments, we understand that the individuals, they're usually going through a certain type of challenge. And many times it's addictions, and then many times it's also other criminal activity that they can be associated with. And then there are those that really do need the help and want the help, and we direct them towards those resources. So our second goal, again, it is we do want to help reduce homelessness in Santa Maria. We want to partner and engage with our regional agencies and local service providers. We're in constant communication with the county and with other agencies to make sure that our efforts are coordinated and that we provide support for those agencies offering services. And the last objective here, 2.3, we should remember that we are doing our best to provide housing in our community. This includes permanent housing, supportive housing, transitional housing, and with consideration to neighborhood input and potential impacts. So we're putting our best effort in addressing homelessness and encampments. It's complicated. It requires the work of many departments and many agencies, but it requires diligence and persistence. And this concludes staff's presentation. Welcome any questions you may have.
Any questions from the dais? Ms. Jessica Beto?
Not a question, but a comment. I just want to recognize the work that the Santa Maria Police Department and the Rangers, particularly, I've seen more of you guys at the riverbed, and that's makes you feel more comfortable having your families walk around. That's something that, especially in the northwest portion, that area, that has been a hotspot. And now I've seen and I have hear feedback from my constituents saying thank you. So I just want to share that with you guys, that now they feel more comfortable letting their kids go around, ride their bicycles, and at the end of the day, it's everybody's space. So I just want to say thank you for what you guys do. I know it's a really rough and tough job because you guys deal with a lot of uncertainties, things that can happen. In one moment, things can, I walk and do an outreach with you guys and enforcement, and I've seen just stay behind you guys. And so thank you for what you do, and happy to support you guys.
Thank you. Ms. Flores?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I also want to thank you for your report, and thank you, law enforcement, because I've noticed a big change in our city, and I'm grateful that it's being cleaned up. And I know it's a lot of work and dealing with personalities that are out there, and they have mental health, and we're trying to treat them, with their human rights and being able to take care of them at the same time, and they're intoxicated or on drugs. And I want to personally tell you, I appreciate all that you guys are doing out there. And thank you for that great report, and the video and the pictures. It just brings everything a little bit closer to where we're at. But our city's looking great. It's much better than what it was. So thank you.
Mr. Wu, you said something about registering bicycles. Are bicycles registered, and do they have a license today?
They can.
So when you buy a bicycle, most of them have serial numbers on the bottom. So what we're looking to implement here soon is a system where the people can go on where we do our online criminal report writing, and they can register when they buy a bike. Hey, I just bought this pink bike. Here's a serial number. They input it in the system. When officers come across bicycles, oftentimes, if you looked at some of the pictures, there's a lot of bicycles typically, and we have trouble tracking where the bicycles came from. So once we have this system up in place, people can register their bikes. We can go check the system, see, hey, this is a stolen bike, and kind of go from there, investigation, or at least get the bike back to who's ever rightfully owns the bike, that kind of thing. So
Or whatever is left.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of times we come with just bike pieces, frames, different pieces. So that's the thought behind that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So somewhere I think I read that even, I don't know if it's in committee or where it is, on the shopping carts at the state level. Have you read that at all? I'll have to see if I can dig that up. I think I read it where at the state level there's some legislation about shopping carts.
I haven't heard.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Ms. Soto?
Yes. I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Thank you for the work that is being done, and thank you for this thoughtful presentation and report. I have a question on some of the objectives that are listed here, specifically around with objective 2.2, where we seek to partner and support other agencies, not just through grant funding, but just in partnership and coordination. What has that been like? And I don't know if you can share some insights or highlights on that.
Yes. So, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Soto, so far I think it's a good relationship that we have with Santa Barbara County. We recognize the role that they play, and we do our part in addressing our local issues. When possible, we try to leverage our CDBG funding towards homelessness efforts, and because that's a priority. As you may remember, we've committed funds towards capital improvements for Good Sam, or whether it's contributing towards a Center for Transitional Age Youth for Fighting Back, and other funds for the different service providers. So I think when we can, we really do try to support those agencies that directly address those experiencing homelessness.
Thank you. And so that's on the funding side. What about in the providing of services to the individuals who are unhoused?
That's we count on those service providers to be effective in their work, and so when they report back, they do have actual numbers of individuals that they've helped, and so we participate in those meetings and in those report outs, whether it's New Beginnings or Good Sam, and there's a kind of a running tally of how many people they've contacted and how many people accepted help. So, while the money is primarily through the California Encampment Resolution Funds that's administered through the county, provided to the service providers, we're always kept in the loop. We're always, because the people that they're helping are people within Santa Maria boundaries. And so they keep us informed, and we remain coordinated in that work.
When there's a lot of information that was shared today about the cleaning up efforts that have been undertaken, but what happens after an encampment is cleaned up? What happens to the individuals once their belongings are thrown away?
I'll have either sergeants also chime in on this, because they hear directly from the individuals.
So it's going to depend on the individual. If typically when we go out to an encampment, if these actually, a lot of times we go out there and there's nobody there, or they see us and they start walking away. So at that point, it's nobody's real property. If there's valuables, obviously we'll take it, book it, depending on what it is, put it into our evidence bay. But if there is an individual and they want to keep their property, then we'll go through the motions. We'll cite them for illegal camping, take the property that they want, and then go through the process. We'll store it for 60 days, and at that point, if they can come pick it up if they want to. But it's going to depend. If they want services, again, we'll reach out to our contacts at Good Sam, get them the services that they want or they're looking for, and at least put them in contact. But it's going to depend on the individual. Sometimes it's going to be a matter of different variables when we're encountering them.
How often do individuals go and pay the fee to get their belongings back?
There's no
after
fee to
this?
pick up belongings.
There's no fee to pick up the
they just go pick up the belongings,
Okay.
yes. We store it for safekeeping,
For 60 days?
yes.
In the goals and objectives, and I may have missed it, but I don't think I saw anything about prevention of homelessness. Was there? I may have missed it.
The Mayor, Councilmember Soto, most of the goals and objectives are towards the clean and safe communities and neighborhoods. And then there's the other goal that's about reducing homelessness. I would say the one objective that's related to prevention is that we do our best to support the provision of housing. Mm-hmm. And so anytime there's a housing proposal, we do our best to support that, whether it's permanent housing or supportive housing. I think the prevention of homelessness, I think there are many answers and responses to that. How do we do that? And I think there are certainly kind of broad objectives that we can pursue, whether it's, because ultimately it's going to be somebody should be employed, somebody should have a roof over their heads, and so it's, and our service providers do provide resources that address all those factors that may contribute towards homelessness. So, you know, whether someone's has health issues, employment issues, family issues, the case management towards individuals experiencing homelessness is fairly comprehensive. And so I would say we support all the service providers in everything that they do in providing those wraparound services for individuals. But in terms of what we do as a city, you know, we're through PD and Rangers, it's going to be the clean and safe, and it's going to be the business support. But we support the service providers.
Thank you. My only concern with parts of our approach is that the cleaning of the campsites doesn't necessarily remove homelessness or solve homelessness in our community. Those individuals who are experiencing homelessness are still going to be homeless after their belongings are picked up. And so, and I know that, you know, it's not a problem that can be solved in one conversation or even in multiple conversations. But I do think that similarly to how we were able to identify these goals and objectives and very tangible action items, I think the same can be done for how we ensure that the individuals whose belongings are getting picked up, how do we ensure that people who are living in the streets are living in the streets in a dignified manner, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You know, like if we're thinking about public health and safety, portable toilets, you know, is something that I've heard an idea being thrown around, you know, in the riverbed or in areas where we see folks who are experiencing homelessness. I mean, during COVID-19, we saw the tremendous amount of resources that was really poured into not just getting people off the streets or moving people's things off the streets, but really in ensuring that public health was maintained. And so I'm thinking out loud here. I don't know if we have any council members sitting on this task force that has been brought together by city staff. But, you know, I, for one, would love to be a part of the conversation especially when it comes to the efforts that we're undertaking.
Thank you. Oh, do you want Aguilar?
I have a question.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
On this task force, what council members sit on this task force? No? Okay.
I can respond to part of that. I know with Fighting Back, we have found a couple of youth in the riverbed to have taken them out and have been very successful in housing them, giving them support. What's difficult is with the mental health issues and when they have drug issues. That's really difficult. But Fighting Back does a great job with that. And I understand what you're saying. A lot of that's got to come down. The state has to have a plan and has to have the money behind that plan to do that. We don't have the money as a city, but you know, I see where it needs to be done. But we've been able to house these young people, and also Hope Village has. But when they get termed out of foster care, which is a huge problem in the state of California, and they haven't had any training, they have no place to go. In Fighting Back, we take these kids and try to get them jobs and teach them how to go to work, because some of them don't know how to go to work. We want them to go to school to get educated so they can better their life. And so we're doing that. So a lot of the resources go to like Fighting Back or go to Good Sam, and they perform those duties. Anyway, any other questions, comments? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Did you have a question or a comment? Okay, thank you, Mr. Wu. Thank you, Mr. Sergeant Diaz. Officer Ramirez. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Madam Clerk, could you please read the criteria?
Yes, speakers may provide public comments on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, maximum 15 minutes for public comment period. Unless the majority of the council objects, the mayor may provide speakers more or less time to speak. All comments or queries shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any specific member thereof, pursuant to Government Code Section 549-54282 of the Ralph M. Brown Act. No action or discussion by the City Council shall be undertaken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda, except to briefly provide information, ask for clarification, provide direction to staff, or schedule a matter for a future meeting.
Thank you. We have Gary Hall, followed by Esther Jensen, followed by Andrew Klein. Good evening, Mr. Hall.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, staff, citizens of Santa Maria. My name is Gary Hall. I represent the North Santa Barbara County Manufactured Homeowners Team, or NSBT. I apologize for missing the last 2 city council meetings, and I thank Esther Jensen. Sorry, I got lost. For attending and speaking on NSBT's behalf. I have not heard yet of this council's willingness to add senior mobile home park conversion prevention and mobile home rent stabilization to a future agenda, so I'm back again tonight, pleading for you to take the appropriate and overdue action. Santa Maria seniors deserve the same protection from conversion that has been provided to the seniors in unincorporated Santa Barbara County. The logical first step would be to direct staff to prepare an interim urgency ordinance to implement a moratorium for the conversion of senior mobile home parks to all-age mobile home parks, and then deliver that ordinance to the council for adoption. Please take that first step. In 1999, the city of Santa Maria considered a mandatory and enforceable mobile home rent control ordinance. That attempt to maintain mobile home affordability failed to get the necessary support, and the ordinance was not passed. Now, 26 years later, our mobile home residents continue to struggle. Unregulated rent continue to put the residents at risk of losing their homes. Please remember that we own our homes and pay rent for the land that they sit on. We are not like apartment dwellers. When the rent gets too high, we can't just move to a cheaper unit. Our homes are no longer mobile. We are captive tenants. The 2019 Model Lease Program was supposed to solve the mobile home affordability issue. Unfortunately, it's purely voluntary and lacks both enforceability and any reasonable form of fair financial restrictions. 2 final comments. I attended the District 2 Town Hall meeting last night, and I want to compliment Councilmember Flores and City Manager Rowlands on a very informative forum for the city residents. We could use more town hall meetings in each district. And lastly, I've heard a rumor that there may be some contract progress between the city and the firefighters. I hope that's true.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Esther Jensen, followed by Andrew Klein.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilmen, members, and citizens of Santa Maria. My name is Esther Jensen. I'm a resident of the La Maria Senior Mobile Home Park here in Santa Maria. I represent the North Santa Barbara County Manufactured Home Team and all of Santa Maria mobile home residents who need relief from uncontrolled rent increases. Last meeting, I asked if we wouldn't place the mobile home rent stabilization back to the agenda. And secondly, I asked to add to the agenda the possibility of inappropriate conversion of senior parks to all-age parks. This is a real concern for us seniors. Has there any thoughts been given to these concerns? Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Klein.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, City staff. I'll make it brief. First off, thank you so much for that wonderful proclamation. The family was extremely grateful, and that was just a very fitting tribute to Alvin's sacrifice for the city. Also wanted to mention that we do have another line of duty death in our fire service family, and that's Joseph Alexander. He passed of a heart attack the year before Alvin, January 22nd, 1969. So that was a very dark time back then, and even 55 years later plus, we will never forget their sacrifices of Joe and Alvin. So on that note, on April 26th, I'm inviting you for all that are able. April 26th, Saturday at 9 a.m. at the southeast corner of Main and Broadway, where Alvin was tragically killed. We're going to do a short ceremony remembering and honoring him and his family at the site, and it will be about 30 to 40 minutes. It'll be a short fire service remembrance ceremony, and just want to formally invite Council and Madam Mayor, if you're able, please come on down. We have parking for you, and it'll be a nice formal event. Santa Maria PD Honor Guard is going to be assisting us with that, so thank you, PD, and hope to see you there, and thank you for all your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That ends public comment. Now we'll move on to the consent calendar. Does anyone have items they wish to pull for discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Move.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Escobedo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez.
Aye.
Councilmember Flores.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto.
Aye.
And Mayor Patino.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is public hearing, the introduction of an ordinance adopting the cost of service study. And that, I have to announce that this has been canceled and it'll proceed to a further agenda. The next item will be an introduction of an ordinance regarding zoning text amendments for battery energy storage systems. Director of Community Development, Shannon Dow, will be making the presentation. 13A is canceled. Yeah.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members. We'll cue up the PowerPoint, and can I have the next slide? As I'm sure you're aware, back in January in Moss Landing, there was a significant fire at a battery energy storage facility. This was in Moss Landing. It is a Vistra Energy project, and it was 750 megawatts. The portion that caught fire was 300 megawatts, and that was the oldest technology operating on the site. It did trigger the evacuation of about 1,200 residents for a period of 24 hours, as well as the closure of the one freeway. And there have been significant concerns in the wake of this in terms of both health effects as well as environmental impacts. So as a result of this, we are proposing the introduction of an ordinance that would address BESS here in the city of Santa Maria. This ordinance has three components. First, we have to define BESS under our ordinance and make clear which projects that this does apply to. Identify appropriate zoning, as well as identify city-specific elements for the BESS application. If you're not familiar with battery energy storage systems, they generally serve as, of course, giant batteries. They pull energy from the grid during times of low demand, and then they deploy energy to the grid in times of high demand. So this serves several purposes, the first of which is cost shaving, or demand shaving, which results in lower energy costs. Additionally, they can help stabilize the power grid. So this can help us avoid the rolling blackouts that we saw in decades past, as well as help us in terms of energy resiliency in the event of a disaster. Appropriate zoning for this type of project we are proposing as Zone M2. This is identified as the heaviest industrial zoning that the City of Santa Maria has and is consistent with general manufacturing. So those are uses that are not kosher, adjacent to residents and commercial and other uses of that nature, and it is focused on the heaviest industrial that we have. There are a number of standards that the team has identified. First, there would need to be an emergency response and emergency action plan. So this would consider all potential offsite impacts, and it would be established in conjunction with the police and fire departments to ensure that we're all very prepared in the event of a disaster. Additionally, we're proposing a distance from sensitive uses. BESS facilities would not be located within a quarter mile of sensitive receptors. So those include mixed-use residential, regular residential, schools, and hospitals. And finally, we have public noticing. Public hearing notices would be sent to owners of property within 1/3 of a mile of any proposed BESS facility. The Planning Commission had additional recommendations on top of the original proposal. This includes that BESS facilities would be distanced away from any land used or zoned for agricultural cultivation. So those would be added to that list of sensitive receptors that included schools in the previous slide. All properties within 2 miles of the proposed BESS facility would receive notices, and typically those notices are sent to property owners. The Planning Commission is proposing that those would instead be sent to both tenants and property owners to ensure that any tenants that are residents of Santa Maria would also receive the information, and not just their landlords who might be out of the area. So what does that look like? With the original proposal, these are the zones that would still be allowed. As you can see, they're very limited. So all of the blue would be blocked out from having a BESS facility based on those distances. With the addition of the Planning Commission, so the original had about 8 sites that were zoned M2 that would be eligible based on those distances. With the addition of the Planning Commission recommendation on ag, it would actually eliminate all sites from consideration within the City of Santa Maria. So one alternative to that, if there was a desire to kind of accommodate the wishes of the Planning Commission while also allowing some sites to be available, there could be a compromise of disallowing it on any agricultural sites on the site itself, but not disallowing it from a distance from the agricultural sites. So this would allow for two potential sites, and those are shown here. With that, I offer for any questions, comments, or concerns. We do have our principal planner, who is the architect of this, available for any questions you may have.
Any questions? Ms. Jessica Battle?
Yeah, just I was just reading a little bit about the fire. So it mentioned that it's lithium. So tell, for everybody who's watching us, a little bit of why we put this kind of facility. What's the goal of storage? What is that energy used for, maybe?
Absolutely. So these facilities do help stabilize the California grid. So they can be used for the entire community. It's when you flip the light switch, any of this power that's stored may be supplying your home. So the benefit here in a somewhat isolated area is that if there is a disaster and you have a BESS facility here, we will be able, and if the grid is broken elsewhere outside the community, that will act as kind of a mini power plant and be able to help supply the grid here. So that is a big benefit. Stabilizing the grid and stabilizing costs are the other benefits. I will say that this is likely the first step of many for BESS for cities around the state. Many of the cities are looking at similar limitations or even outright bans on BESS facilities right now. But I think it is important to keep in mind that the facility that caught fire was lithium ion technology. They've since, lithium iron and other technologies are actually much more fire resistant. So I think this is kind of a stopgap measure for us to get our hands around the technology, give the market a little bit of time to have that technology speed up in adoption, and have those safer ones deployed in the future. I don't think this is the last we've heard of battery storage, for sure.
Thank you.
Do you know what the cause of the fire was on the Moss Landing?
I don't. My understanding in the research we did for the ordinance is that lithium ion is more susceptible to catching fire or to either wrong installation or other issues, where some of these other newer technologies are much less flammable.
So is there still the potential for explosion hazards in what we're talking about here?
With what we're trying,
what
we're trying
to do.
Yes. Yes, so this is this would be a blanket. This is not, we are not getting granular enough to look at what type of technology is being deployed. So the sites that would be available, it could be any type of technology under the current ordinance we're proposing.
Because it seemed with the Moss Landing one that the fumes went, what, maybe 10 miles away from that?
Yes, it was a significant distance,
really significant.
and we have seen, even in the months since, complaints of respiratory issues and things like that for the residents who were exposed.
And we have a lot of wind that carries a lot of particles in this valley.
We do.
Okay. But even in Napomo, for the one that's proposed up there, that would come right into the valley.
That's crazy.
Any
It's scary.
questions? No. Okay. We want to go so. So I have, do we have any written communications, Madam Clerk?
Not for this item, Mayor.
Okay. I'll open up the public hearing, and I have three speakers here. I have Eric Daniels, Pete Simmons, and Andy Caldwell. Good evening, Mr. Daniels.
Hello, Madam Mayor and Council. How are you? I might go just a tad long because I want to address some of your questions that I'm sure you're going to have. I don't know the cause of the battery facility up there. I'm going off script now, so bear with me. That was not a PG&E facility. It was Vistra, so I don't have answers for you on that. However, I can say it was a totally enclosed facility, a very old technology, as staff suggested. It is not how any of them are being built today. There's one that was just built in Napomo, and it is in small containers, a totally different type of technology, because things have been learned since the early ones were developed. As far as the reasons for them, why they're so important to Council Member, I think, Espinosa's question was, is because it does help us break the grid down in case there is an upstream issue on the line. So for instance, back in 2013, many of you might remember the large-scale 150,000 customer outage we had in this area. If we'd had that battery storage in Napomo that we have there now, you would not have been out of power. We could have carried you for 4 hours, and that outage only lasted for about 3. So you would have never even noticed that there had been a blip in the grid. Now, if you'll bear with me, I'll get to my actual statements. Oh, okay. PG&E appreciates the opportunity to comment on the city's battery storage BESS ordinance language. We support the public safety goals that motivate this ordinance. Legislation, however, in Sacramento is currently being considered to enhance safety requirements by incorporating National Fire Protection Association 855 standards for BESS installations. I would ask staff to preview the legislation SB 283 and these national standards before making any decisions here. Please also know that the any applicant for a BESS facility is already required by state law to work with first responder community when developing emergency response plans. By aligning with state and national standards, we can reduce inconsistencies among local jurisdictions and improve operations and safety, and also reduce costs. There are some specific things that I'd like to work with staff on between now and the time the bill comes back. The ordinance comes back. Sorry, I'm from Sacramento sometimes. As BESS need to be sited near substations, I wonder the sites that you have there, I don't believe there's any substation there. Those sites would be useless to us for any, not just for PG&E, but any other third party that would want to build out one of those. So we need to think about that. By limiting the limited nature of the ordinance seems as written to almost assure denial of any application. The ordinance offers no distinction in technology type, as was mentioned by one of the questions, nickel magnesium cobalt versus lithium iron phosphate. May I continue?
Go ahead.
Or lithium ion versus iron air. Advancements in technology should be recognized, I think, in what you guys are trying to accomplish here. Similarly, changes in configurations, as I mentioned at the get-go, of systems are also not recognized in the ordinance, although I think she made comments, so I think staff is aware of these things. Modularized systems versus stacked in-house building envelopes. Again, changes in configuration should be considered. And lastly on that, the radius of the siting restrictions and the notifications of projects is unusually large, 2 miles. And seems to be more politically reactive than based on actual science and needs for these types of systems. So I'd like to work with the staff. Between now and then, I'll reach out to you that we can get a quick meeting with some people to talk about some things. Having said all that, if we as a society truly want a greener grid, the incorporation of battery systems facilities will be necessary. Battery storage enables, as staff already said, the integration of renewable energy resources, enabling grid stability, and offers cost savings to customers. I'll stop there because you've already heard that from the staff. So thank you very much. I'm here to answer any questions, though.
Mr. Daniels, is that Senate bill or is that a
Senate bill.
Senate
Senator
bill?
Laird, actually.
Laird? Okay. Thank you.
Eric,
Yes, I saw Shannon nodding her head, so that'd be a good idea to get together, see how you're going to put this together.
I want to thank you for being here and
you.
taking
Thank
the
you.
time to talk to us and inform us of that. Thank you.
Any
You bet.
questions of Mr. Daniels? Okay. Pete Simmons?
Mayor Patino, my speaker slip was actually for item 13D.
Okay. It does say D on here. Okay, Andy Caldwell?
Madam Mayor, Andy Caldwell, and members of the council representing CoLab. In my 34-year career, I've never asked for an EIR. You need an EIR for these projects. And the reason for that is at Moss Landing, the mandatory evacuation was 8 miles away. That would take up most of Santa Maria, perhaps Guad and Orchid. The shelter in place was up to 20 miles. What did that mean? You're supposed to seal off all windows, doors, and vents, including, I believe, you'd have to climb up on your roof and seal off your oven vent and other vents on your roof. These fires cannot be put out. They're not a regular fire, they are a chemical reaction. The standard protocol is let them burn themselves out unless they get a thermal runaway event, i.e. it spreads from one battery to the other. Now, I love Mr. Daniels. I trust PG&E, but I don't trust some of the other people doing these plants, including Vistra. So what happens is they have to have the chemical reaction. So what they do is they literally spray millions of gallons of water on all the surrounding units to try to keep them from getting this thermal runaway. The one in Nipomo, which I drive by 6 days out of the week, has a puny little tank and no on-site water. That facility will have a bigger impact on Santa Maria than most of Nipomo. What is the emergency response plan for most of these? It's pathetic. So let's consider Nipomo since it's already there. They have to shut down the 101 and the 166. How are you going to get access to and from for emergency response, and how are people going to evacuate? Plus, it's butt up next to an ag field. They never mention the ag workers that are in that field and how they're going to evacuate them. Now, I've taken about 10 looks at that map. If you could put that map back up of where the two sites you had, if I'm not mistaken, that's right next to the county jail. It's certainly within the footprint. You can't put it where you've got a captive population that you technically can't evacuate very easily. We certainly aren't going to open the doors and tell them run for your lives, right? The bottom line with these things, and there's a great quote, I forgot to get it, but the Monterey County Supervisor said, the technology is running ahead of our ability to safeguard the community thereof. We don't have the ability to deal with an emergency. Now, there may not be that many emergencies, but it just takes one. Do you want a toxic fume that engulfs the entire city of Santa Maria and all of Orchid? Because that's the risk you're playing. That's why you need a full-blown EIR, which determines air monitoring, all of the things which you have to do. I remember when I used to be and can I just say one more thing, please?
Go ahead, Andy.
I was the industrial relations and safety manager at Union Sugar for a number of years. I worked out there a total of 11 years. So I had to do the emergency response plan. We had to do a plan in case a helicopter landed. We had to do a plan if a tidal wave came in. They made us do ridiculous scenarios, but this is not a ridiculous scenario. This is a realistic proposition. And Moss Landing was only one. San Diego, two of their plants have gone up twice. So again, this is a disaster. They don't have the ability to control the technology yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I have no further requests to speak, so I will close the public hearing. Any comments, questions?
Yep, I don't have any questions. I think this is a good text amendment to limit, because of what Andy said, I think we do need to limit it to general manufacturing district. We shouldn't be putting it near homes, schools. Yes. We should relook whether it is, how far it is from the jail. But I do agree with this proposal that we should keep it to general manufacturing district. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree and add that I would hate for something like this to go up near the county jail.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, and this was simply an alternative if we wanted to kind of strike a balance between the Planning Commission's proposal, which eliminates all sites, or if we do still want to reserve some sites, so that's entirely up to you. We can, if we return to the proposal by the Planning Commission, it would essentially place a temporary moratorium as we gather more information and seek to potentially change the ordinance in the future as the technology catches up and we catch up with it.
I would
2 miles.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is 2 miles enough?
No, I don't think so.
So the 2 mile noticing, we do have some options there. By state standards, once you are notifying that many people, you actually can place that notice in a public periodical of public circulation, a newspaper notice. And if we would like to expand that further, that might be a better option. Then everybody would be better able to access that information.
Mm-hmm.
I also, because we've got sometimes we'll have a lot of people working out in the fields, and there we are, though it is not in the city, these fields are not in the city of Santa Maria. Mm-hmm. I would hate to see that. That would be terrible.
That's an excellent point, and we can build in a notification system to that emergency plan that we're requiring to notify Guadalupe and surrounding areas and work with them as well if you wish.
Mr. Escobedo, do you have a question or
Yes.
a comment?
Yes. What's the Senate bill that I believe was mentioned?
283.
Is that in the process? Because one part of me says if we pass something and that something is coming up, then we're gonna come back and redo everything.
Yes.
So definitely, I would like to look into that bill and so if we decided to move forward with this one, there is this the concession that, eventually something will be changed. Is that right?
Yes, and honestly, in my professional opinion and experience with energy projects, I do think the state will be seeking a path for these projects to continue moving forward. So if there are a lot of cities that ban them, there will very likely be state legislation coming down that provides guidance, because they do have experts and things that could evaluate the different types of technologies and standardize that process for approval. That could be a good thing potentially, because we'll have the experts in the field weighing in on this instead of 500 cities statewide trying to figure it out on our own.
Just jumping in, and
Yeah.
that's something that I think that we need to be really mindful and careful on, just signing off and opening a door that, once it's built, are we gonna, okay, now you're gonna shut it down? And it just, I think that we gotta be careful and very much careful and do not play with this kind of new technology. It's nothing new that we don't really know where it's at. I mean, this fire and many others that might come, so it's definitely wouldn't like to put Santa Marians and agricultural community in danger.
Absolutely.
Or
Could we be doing a moratorium then on it now?
If we do accept the Planning Commission recommendation as it's written on the agenda today, yes, it would effectively be a moratorium because all of those sites are canceled out by those restrictions.
And I know every year we go through different changes in our ordinance because the state has passed different things. So we do that regularly anyway. So,
yes.
But this to me is sort of scary. So,
Yeah.
do I have a motion?
So move
Second.
What is the motion?
that we approve 13B as directed by the staff.
Okay. With a moratorium, do we have to put that in there or not?
As written on the agenda, it is with
It's
the Planning
already-
Commission
okay.
recommendation, yes.
And again, for clarification, it's not a moratorium, I want to make that clear.
okay.
It is using local control over the property that we have within our zoning areas. And so we've zoned it, we've allowed it, but we found sensitive uses that preclude it from those local zones.
Thank you.
And I would add too that as we annex property, as we're in the process of hopefully doing as part of the general plan, that may open up additional sites and perhaps those may align better with the transmission lines and that may be a better approach for both parties.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez. Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Escobedo.
Aye.
Councilmember Flores.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto.
Aye.
And Mayor Patino.
Aye. The next public hearing item will be on the Measure A 5-year local program of projects. Director of Public Works, Brett Fulgoni, will be presenting.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Let's wait for the, okay, here we go. So tonight I'll give you a brief update on, or a brief overview of what Measure A is and a brief update on our program of projects that we set forth each year. And just to caveat this, that the following month I'll be providing the council with an update to our payment management program. And so this isn't that, but it does play into budget setting and that the overall payment management program.
Oh.
Wow, that is very white up there. So, background on Measure A, it's a half-cent sales tax approved by voters in 2008 in Santa Barbara County. It is county-wide. It was approved by a 79% majority in Santa Maria, so it was well supported. It's a 30-year program that expires in 2040, and it's funding over $1 billion in transportation projects countywide. There's an investment plan that was adopted by the voters at the time that contemplates 13.3% of funds for named projects such as the 101-135 interchange, Highway 101 Better-Avia interchange, along with other named projects. 43.3% of the funds were for North County program of projects and 43.3% were for South County program projects. This is our funding mix for annual street revenues, including the staff that we have that do the maintenance work, so this isn't just construction. So you'll note the maintenance of effort at 21%. The general fund, which we don't see every year, that's whether or not the council selects to add additional general funding to the mix. But this is what this last year looked like. There's also SB1, which was the gas tax that was passed a few years back, along with the old gas tax revenues, and then you can see Measure A there at 34%. So an extremely important mix in our total funding. This is a summary of what we spend the money on and is our program of projects, what we have on balance, and how we expect to use the dollars over the year. And over the next 5 years, including various roadway and maintenance improvements, including staff funding, also funds certain landscaping maintenance like the Battle Roads project that we just completed. It's not in districts, and so part of Measure A will fund the maintenance of that. There's also traffic safety improvements that we do, street lighting. So there's street light projects that we do each year throughout different parts of the city that don't necessarily have street lights currently, along with a lot of concrete work that we do that's considered alternative transportation. There is a 15% minimum contribution to alternative transportation through the funding program. So if we spend $100, if you spend $85 out of $100 on asphalt, $15 needs to go toward alternative transportation. So your sidewalks, concrete, things like that. So that total mix, that's mandated by the Measure A program. So Measure A at work, as you can see, it's about a third of our funding mix. It funds everything that you see us do, including the paver that we purchased this last year. We're beginning to deploy that, but it's, do a lot of paving, do a lot of sidewalk work. Notably, in the next year, the program of projects includes quite a bit of concrete work, and we are seeking to eliminate the areas within the city where there are no curb ramps. So there's parts of the city that don't have curb ramps. We want to use some of the reserve dollars to actually put curb ramps in the areas of the city where we don't have them at all. So that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Available for questions.
Any questions? No? Yes, Mr. Escobedo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When can you fix my street? No, I think that's one of the most common questions I have, and it just makes sense. You know, everybody uses the streets to go for a walk, for go to work, so many places. And can you please share with us? Right now, we're talking about $38 million, 45. In total?
Around 38 over 5 years.
How much would it take to fix every single street in the city of Santa Maria, approximately?
Yeah, you're talking 100 million plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I share with the constituents, and I know that people get mad at you guys are fixing this street, but you're not fixing mine, and there's you guys do I think a great job on, and I know it's a tough one because I know that you would love to fix everything and have a budget that I would love to have that budget to fix every single street. But I know that you guys do a lot with less. You're really working on prioritizing the most used roads. And I just want to recognize and thank you for also keeping me, every time I ask from what's happening here, there's something going on, you guys are on top of it. So thank you for your leadership, and you guys are, tell the team that keep working hard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the
Councilmember
report,
Soto.
thank you. On the report that's on the agenda, I see a different number than what was posted here, than what was shared in the slide.
In the presented amount
one?
for.
Where there, the total is 37,865,000, and here it's 38.
38.
37.
37.
8. Okay.
But on the one that's on the posted agenda says 38. And so was there?
Did you round up?
Was there a calculation error, or did one of the project amounts change?
It's probably a calculation error.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and look at it. Sorry about that.
Thank you for catching that, council member.
Thank you. Sorry.
That was good. 200,000
Good
off.
catch. Any other questions?
No,
Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
it's your business degree.
No, Madam Mayor,
Any written comments?
not for this item.
Okay, I will close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. Can you go down to the recommendation?
It's a resolution,
The resolution?
so you need a roll call.
Okay.
Adopt the resolution.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Soto?
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Flores?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Escobedo?
Aye.
Mayor Patino?
Aye. The final public hearing item is the introduction of an ordinance to amend Section 11-9.05 of the Santa Maria Municipal Code regarding Quimby Park fees. The presentation will be delivered by Alex Posada, Director of Recreation and Parks. Good evening.
Good
Push the
evening.
button. How are you all?
Ex-interim city manager.
I am so glad Dave is here.
That's how joyful it was to work with us.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Good evening, council members, mayor. I'm happy to be here tonight for this public hearing. Just to talk a little bit about what is currently Section 11-9.05, public park dedications, or as it's called, the subdivision in lieu fee. And what that program is one of the 3 fees that the city collects in order to fund park development. And typically these are mitigation fees related to new development that is coming into the city. So the city's ordinance that it has today hasn't been updated since its adoption. We've tweaked it a little bit along the way as far as adjusting the fees. There's been some recent changes in state law that kind of motivated us to kind of take a look at the entire ordinance and bring it forward for council consideration. So what we did is take a look at the ordinance, try to come up with what we're hearing happening either by council action or what we're seeing in the development community. We did take the opportunity to hold a Teams meeting where we had some developers participate in that meeting, and we reviewed the areas of change that we're proposing, and we got some feedback from them during that meeting. So unfortunately, I would like to go through this, and there are a number of changes, but I'll try and be as quick as possible, and if you have questions along the way, please stop me. So one of the first ones is to change the name of the ordinance from the subdivision in lieu program to the Quimby fee program. Quimby is a state law that sets up the structure for this fee, and it's more recognizable in the industry to just call it the Quimby fee. I've looked through several other cities' ordinances, and there is a myriad of park dedication ordinance names. So I thought it'd be easier just to call it the Quimby fee program. So that's the first change. The second change is the current ordinance is vague as far as the timing when these fees are paid. The current ordinance reads that the fees are due at the earliest time allowed by law. So again, very vague. The staff's proposal was that we look at doing it at permit issuance when some of our other fees are collected. In the meeting that we had with developers, the concern was that at permit issuance, sometimes it's hard for the developers to get funding, and was there a way to consider moving it to certificate of occupancy, which is when people actually move into the homes. So what I'm proposing in the draft that you see in front of you is that we continue to leave due at permit issuance, that we continue to look at a portion of the fee being due at permit issuance, 50% of the fee at permit issuance, and then the remaining 50% would be paid upon the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy for their project. So if it's a 50-home development, they would pay half their fee based on the 50 homes up front, and then, or at permit issuance, and then the first certificate of occupancy for that first 50th home would trigger the rest of the fees being due. Change number 3 relates to the using of average household size to calculate the fee. This is again one of the state requirements that we look at the average household size of a residence in the city of Santa Maria as a component in the formula. Our current ordinance reads that it should be the latest federal census. Our proposal is to amend that to use the California Department of Finance's most recent estimate on city population, which is usually more accurate than waiting for the 10-year federal census.
Excuse me, Mr. Posada, how often does the Department of Finance do that? Annually?
About in my planning people over there, it is pretty regularly. Yeah, that's how we get our numbers changed in our population at the city entrances.
I knew that. Okay.
So it is more regular than those 10 years. Change number 3 permits the Recreation and Parks Commission to adopt a higher number of acres per 1,000 residents. State law requires 3 acres per 1,000 residents and up to 5 acres per 1,000 residents if the city can show it has a deficit in its current park acreage. Right now, that change is relegated to the council to consider, and typically what we would do is bring that back to you whenever we bring you the annual update to this particular fee program.
Oh, the mayor.
Yes, Mr. Escobedo.
And regarding that, do we have a deficit in regards parks?
For within the city limits of the city of Santa Maria, our deficit about 50 acres. So as new development would happen, then we would go further in arrears if we didn't have the higher acreage standard. And right now it is set at 5 acres per 1,000.
Okay, thank you.
That was your, pardon me, that was your last council action last year.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Change number 5 is to propose adding the word accessible acreage to ensure that park acreage is functional and to meet the needs of the city. In section little d, paragraph large D, capital D, it talks about this particular area. It mentions that, pardon me, the acreage. We would like to add the word accessible because there are parcels that could be dedicated as open space that are not accessible, and which means that it's not an easy path to get to, or maybe it's behind some barriers, or it's physically individuals aren't able to get to it because of its location. So we are proposing to add the word accessible to that section. And change number 6 is to propose the word limits. So right now the statement reads is that within the city, we would like to clarify that to say within the city limits. Change number 7 is addition of new language to reflect the recent updates to state law. In the past, the money brought in through this particular fee program was designated to be spent within the development. So if there was a large development coming in, there was a park required, they would pay the fee, and then the city would in turn use that fee to build the park within that particular development. State law changed a couple of years back where it says that these funds can be used for within the development, within the neighborhood, or a regional project that could benefit the residents within that project. So that's an update to this ordinance. Change number 8 is rewording of the section in D, little d, capital E. I'm sorry, number 8 is rewording of the clarification of the intent of the ordinance. There's the city attorney's office and we tried to figure out exactly what this paragraph meant. So we tried to clear it up a little bit, and with the help of the city attorney's office, we added some language to this section. If I can bear with me 1 second. Sorry, I was trying to find the exact verbiage, but what it says is that if you build a project that is 50 units or less, you do not have to dedicate land. The way it was worded is very confusing, and we felt to try to clean it up would make it easier to simply say that if you have a project that is under 50 units, you are not required to dedicate land.
Section
You would pay
11.
the fee.
Yeah.
Section 11.9.
Change number 9 adds language to clarify that the city of Santa Maria uses a fair market value of land zoned for residential development. So the state law says that you should do an appraisal of property. We've always used residential zoning as kind of the triggering point for the fee, because that's the amount of money that it takes us to purchase the land or give credit back to the developer is the value of the land at that point once it's received rezoning for development. So we're asking to add that particular wording in there. I do want to point out too that the ordinance does allow for flexibility for a project that is maybe very impactful to the community or very large, and the developer wants to do a different negotiations. The ordinance does allow for the council to make exceptions to the standard ordinance and the standard projects. So that's important, because I think a lot of times when we have a project coming forward, that there can be findings for the benefit to the community if that project truly moves forward.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Escobedo.
Alex, question. So I was looking at the procedures on 1.
Sorry,
so
which page are you on, sir?
Page number, it's attachment A, page 4.
Okay.
And can you give me more clarification on the first paragraph? It says, at the time of approval or conditional approval of the official tentative map, the Planning Commission shall determine based on recommendations from and then you cross the director. So it's the Recreation and Parks Commission, whether land Quimby Park fees or a combination of both shall be dedicated or paid by the subdivider. Can you give me more clarification on also a reason why taking the director from that?
So it has been the director's, kind of realm to do these kinds of negotiations. But I think one of the things that we talked with the Parks Commission about is to get them more engaged in this particular section. They are charged in the ordinance to decide on credits. So in order to engage them earlier in the process, the director has the ability, as we prepare the staff report, we prepare the staff recommendations and bring those to the commission. And then the development community can come forward just as they would here and, make their statements to the commission, and then the commission can make a recommendation. So it is really just to kind of clean it up a little bit and not put it necessarily with the department director solely to make those decisions. And it does a recommendation to the planning commission, who ultimately they're the ones that do set the requirements for land use.
And so in that, after it's voted, say by the planning commission, they'll be sent to the city council, or they have the discretion to make those recommendations or changes, or what is it?
Placing the
placement.
Yes, the requirement of land or fee. Yes, so typically it depends on the project. As I understand the planning process, sometimes those things will bring forward by the planning staff to you via, from the commission to you for consideration. There are some projects that are ministerial that won't necessarily come to you.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Do you have the list of the 6 changes that you were proposing in a list format? I know that you provided the changes within the ordinance, but do you have like kind of the way you reviewed it right now? Do you have a list for us that we could use?
Yes, I can provide one to you. Yes, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Perfect.
Let's see here. Change number 10, again, designates the Recreation and Parks Commission. This is F1 and 2. I think we just talked about that one, Councilmember Escobedo. Change number 11 codifies the past City Council direction that private recreation improvements provided for in a new project are not eligible for credit under this program. So when the Hancock Terrace Apartments projects were approved, there was a request for credits against their park fees, and the council direction at the time to staff was that we would not give any credits for recreational improvements that were behind a closed or locked gate. That if they were to be given credit, it would be to those that are accessible to the public. So this simply codifies that particular comment from the council. And again, for this council's consideration, because that was a past council. Number 12, deletes definition of private open space limitations. That's G, small g, capital A. And it was just, again, it just made things that were pretty obvious to us and kind of made the ordinance a little longer. That just reads that a yard in a subdivision, courts, required setbacks from the fence line to the structures, and other spaces like that are not calculated as open space for the development, that they still have a requirement to meet the open space standard in the ordinance. And let's see here. Change 13 is simply just a renumbering of all those items there. If we delete that, then everything else becomes, drops down an alphabetical level. And provides clarity to the requirements for open space. Yes, we've gone through there. Change 14 deletes reference to credits being granted for stormwater basins as open space. Council might recall that we did a policy change a few months ago defining stormwater basins and their uses. So it just enumerates the fact that a stormwater basin is not considered open space, which is a change from what was in the original ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Item G2. Oh, maybe I'm wrong here. Sorry. Let's see here. So what we delete the reference to in the existing ordinance, G2 says that a minimum of 1,500 square feet of landscape space containing recreation facilities may qualify the applicant for credit up to a maximum of 60% of the total subdivision in lieu fee. So this happened to us in a project that's underway right now at the old Santa Maria Way Drive-In, where the developers there found that in the code and said, gee, well, all we have to do is provide you 1,500 square feet of open space and we meet the requirement. So we're proposing that we strike that and that we take each project on an individual basis and look at the benefits to the community that it has. This 1,500 square feet area is a retention basin with 2 picnic tables on one of the side slopes. So they found that and To tell you the truth, I'd never really paid attention to this because our projects are typically larger and we've moved forward. But now that it was brought to our attention, I think it's important that we address that now, that whatever improvements are made should be to the benefit of the neighborhoods. And especially in that particular project, there is no public park anywhere in that vicinity along Santa Maria Way.
And Alex, do you remember how many individuals are going to be living in that?
I do not.
It's a
I don't know if
couple of-
Mr. Wu might remember the number of units in
units.
the, or Frank.
If this is the driveway,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's less than 50.
Less than 50 units.
50 units. So,
So-
you're going to multiply that by.
Average household size is 3.4
For some reason, I thought it
residents.
was like 42, so
Yeah.
it's under 50, yeah.
That's a lot. Thank you.
All right, so addressing that, and then change 16 is reducing the amounts of credit. This is probably where some of the developers might have most of concerns, is that our proposal is, right now, the way the ordinance is written is up to 60% of the fee is available for credit under certain circumstances. The problem that we have with 60% credit is that if you grant 60% credit for a project, unless you're receiving some really big public benefit, a park or land or something like that, we don't collect enough funds to build a park to serve that particular development. So our proposal is that we look at, and you'll see it in most of the text here, that 20% would be the maximum. I did survey a few other cities in the area, and it does range from anywhere from 50% credit to 25% credit. So we would be on the lower end of that spectrum if this was approved. Two more, and then I'm done. 17 provides for a more specific definition of a project that proposes that will not have a an impact to recreation or park facilities. The existing language refers to a needs test, and that would be little I, number 1A. There is no needs test. I have been in the job a long time, and I have never found a needs test. So we're proposing that we strike the needs test out, and that we provide this more specific definition in that small I, number 1. Let's see here. And then finally, the last proposal is to provide more clarification on what is a deferment of fees. Under the section called a small I, it talks about deferments and reductions. We propose to change that title to Quimby fee deferments. So if a project comes in, it's for seniors, low income, meets the housing, the HUD guidelines, then they would be eligible to request a deferment of paying the fees. And we did this for the Vandenberg Inn conversion when that happened. And part of our motivation here is that didn't really go well for the city. We ended up giving credits and deferments, and the project has never really met those requirements. And even to this day, I mean, that project has been around for 20 years, and they still have not met their requirements. So what we're proposing here is that half of the fee would be due prior to the issuance of building permits, or part of their tentative map, whatever the process is. And then the final payment of the second half shall be paid before the issuance of the last certificate of occupancy. So we are giving them some time to get some cash flow going. Reductions is small I number 2. Is the reductions are basically addressing senior projects and senior conversions. Again, that's the Vandenberg Inn kind of project. So what we're proposing there is that those projects should move forward to the Parks Commission and just bring it forward as if they were any other project, where they could come forward and on their merits of their project, they could be considered for reduction in fees. And that's kind of where we are with the changes.
Thank you. The old drive-in unit, there's going to be 49 units at that location.
Thank you.
Any questions from the council?
No.
Oh, I've got loads, not loads, but I needed your list of what you were doing in front of me.
I apologize, yes. That would be good to have, and I can
Yeah.
certainly provide that to you all.
Okay. Let me, so I'm having a hard time following some of this, because I don't know if some of this has been crossed off or not. But on page 6, where it says, the quality of all elements of recreation improvements shall meet the public playground industry standards. And this is like one of the apartments that we went to, one of the developments that is apartments we went to see last week, and they had a playground in there. So we require that when that goes before the Planning Commission also?
So if they wanted to get credit for those improvements, typically, yes, they would have to meet the National Playground Standard.
Okay.
If they just put in a playground and there's no credit being asked, they can go to whatever improvement they want to make. I'll give you an example. On New Love, there's a new project that was built where the trucking company used to be. They put in a Little Tykes plastic playground, the modular unit. I just saw that yesterday when I was in the neighborhood. And that are the things we're trying to stay away from, because, you know, in 5 years or 8 years, that thing will be deteriorated from the sun. So we're really looking at making sure that the improvements will be long-lasting for that neighborhood.
Because I really don't have a problem giving credits to the apartments project that I was talking about, because it is low income and affordable housing. And so I don't have a problem giving credits to a project like that, because those kids will stay in that area and play. And they will also get involved, if they get involved in recreation, then you know, then you know, they do that also. But the credit part isn't, I don't think, to me, is not objectionable.
Yeah, I think that one of the things, Madam Mayor, if I might add, is that we try, one of the things that I hope that this does is encourage developments to maybe take a house site, and instead of dedicating it for a house, putting a playground in it. Very much similar to the pocket parks projects that we've undertaken on North DeJoy and on North Miller Streets. Those are going to bring little pockets of recreational opportunities for the residents, and they're really not much bigger than 5,000 or 6,000 square feet. And the clerk did make an important reminder, and I do want to point this out. So in the agenda packet, there was an item as an attachment, which was the appraisal from Integra Resources. That should not have been included as an attachment. The fee program that we're talking about will come back to the council for the fee component later on in the year. Right now, this is simply an update to the ordinance. There's no fee associated with it. And I apologize to you and the development community for that attachment. That was an error.
Thank you. So I have, Madam Clerk, I have 2 requests to speak.
Yes, and then I have 2 written comments, which I'm not going to read at the meeting, but I'll just announce the names when you're ready.
Okay. So now I'll open the public hearing. And do you want to announce the names?
I can. We received 2 written comments, letters from Lori Tamura and Michael Stoltley.
Thank you. And then I have 2 requests to speak. I have Pete Simmons. And then after Mr. Simmons is Andy Caldwell.
Mayor Patino, members of the City Council, I want to thank you and staff for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here this evening, and for all the work and help that you've done to shape the future of the City of Santa Maria. My name is Pete Simmons with Urban Planning Concepts. I'm here this evening in the hopes that we can look at to continue this item on Quimby fees to give the development community time to review the changes and provide our input on the proposed changes to the existing language. As noted earlier, UPC submitted a letter to the City Council and staff outlining our concerns, which are as follows. In section 11905B1C and 2 and a section 1105.05I, one of the big things that we're looking for is the timing of the payments of the Quimby fees. We would recommend that the fees be paid at occupancy rather than split up as being suggested, or at the time of building permit issuance. In section 11-9.05B1C and 2, we'd like to confirm that the fees will be collected the fees will be collected for ADUs and SB9 parcel maps, just because it wasn't clear in that language how those were going to be addressed, especially with all the new state laws that have been changing and everything that seems to be going on weekly. Then in section 11905C1A, we'd like to confirm the fees are to be used for the purchasing of land and new park development rather than for rehabilitation, because I believe for state law that money is to be used for actually for the purchasing of the new parks rather than for the rehabilitation of parks. And then in section 11905D1C, we'd like to make sure the final decision on fees, timing, and improvement should be made by the City Council rather than by the Parks Commission, which is solely to provide recommendations to the City Council. Then in section 11905H1, the reduction that is being discussed to allow from a reduction from 60% to 20% doesn't seem to be really that much of a carrot for the development community to proceed with that type of credit use. And I do want to thank Alex for providing clarification on attachment B, because that was going to be one of our questions, to keep that, to not have that one be adopted, but that was, I appreciate that. And so we look forward to working with staff and to correct the proposed ordinance and bring back to the City Council with support from the development community.
Thank you. Mr. Caldwell?
Mayor Patino, members of the City Council, Andy Caldwell representing CoLab. So some of you may know I've been a government watchdog for 34 years, almost entirely at the county, because the county has more influence over the entire county than most city councils do, from all the functions they have in their $1.7 billion budget. And one of my biggest pet peeves are development fees. And the reason for this is we have an affordable housing problem. And what has happened over time, instead of property taxes paying for improvements, we've tacked on fees. So in reality, what we're doing is we're telling every person that buys a new house, you've got to pay for a park. You've got to pay for a road. You've got to pay for a traffic sign, et cetera, because somehow property taxes and sales taxes and TOT taxes don't cut it. And what happens invariably, like today, is you're making a decision through a keyhole. You're not looking at the big picture. Do you know what the total fees are for a new house in Santa Maria? And how much that adds to the cost of the house. And as all of you know, if you're homeowners, you borrow that fee money for 30 years. And so, for instance, staff wants you to tack on this particular fee at when they pull a permit, or maybe halfway through the permit. They don't have the money coming in. Builders borrow the money to build what they're going to build, so they have to pay interest on the fees, and there hasn't been an impact to the city until the person moves in. And secondly, one of the things I hate about these is we want people to become upwardly mobile, right? So let's say somebody, we started in a starter house in Orchid, and we moved to another house. We'd have to pay a fee each time we moved, even though we did not create any additional impacts. And so there's a lot of things that are wrong with the methodology. Like, I'll go with traffic fees. When they had a Food for Less on the south part of town, and then they built one in the north had to pay fees. Did people shop for groceries twice as much? Or did it actually shorten the trip? There's a philosophy around these that doesn't make sense. We're asking you, as the previous speaker, I agreed with what he had to say, that this ordinance takes power away from your city council. And I'll close with this. Can I just say one more thing, please?
Sure, go ahead.
The county just had a proposal on affordable housing, and what they want to do is convert land that they own to housing, thinking we take the land cost away, that's going to make the housing affordable. But they only own a smidgen of land. What no staff member and no board member mentioned is the staff report highlighted that 70% of the county's population is living in poverty. 70%. In the last 4 years, 40% went from poor to very poor in 5 years. What we really need is not more fees. What we really need is better paying jobs. And the question is what can you do to facilitate that and the people will be able to afford housing? Because we've lost almost all our manufacturing and industrial jobs. And in the county slide, manufacturing and industry didn't even make the slide for the job sectors in the county. I worked in industry. Our industry closed. That's why I got involved with CoLab. So thank you. Please think twice and don't approve things until you see the big picture of what the total cost is and the impact, because none of this is making housing more affordable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Okay, I will close the public hearing at this point. Bring it back to the council.
Questions?
No questions, comments? Do we need, we don't, I shouldn't ask. We don't need to pass this tonight, though, do we?
Correct. If the council wants
Yeah.
to have staff, go back as Mr. Simmons suggested and have another conversation on it, we can do that and bring something back to you.
I would love to get the items you have listed,
I will
so I
provide
match that up to what we have here.
Yes, I'll send those out to you.
Okay.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks, Alex.
So what's, that's
If
what I'd
if I
like to
may
do.
ask Alex really quick, Mayor?
Yes.
So would you want to continue this item to the next meeting, only because I have to post a notice of continuance, and should I put to the next regular meeting, or?
Is that agenda, I think it looks pretty packed.
Yeah.
2 meetings? Let's go to a meeting in June. How's that?
Okay, yep, that helps, thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Thanks.
Was that a
What-
motion
what is-
to continue?
What is the pleasure of the council here?
What is in
did
May
you-
going on?
We have too many agenda items.
What kind of, do we have can we push something from May to move it to June and
No,
get
I-
this item on May?
I think the objective is also to have another meeting with the development community, which staff is going to need time to do.
Yeah.
So I
Correct.
think the
Yeah.
motion from the mayor is that we continue this until June, the first meeting of June. I would second that motion.
Second meeting in June.
And that way
Who
we
did
have-
the first?
You did.
You.
You made
No,
the
I
motion.
didn't, I wasn't making a
Oh,
motion. I was
okay.
saying that was where I'd like to go. I will make a
Okay.
motion, that's fine.
That's what
Thank
you
you for letting
wanted.
me know what I was doing over here.
I'm trying to move things along
Okay.
here.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
You say second meeting of June?
First meeting of
First meeting
June.
of June, okay.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor Patino?
Aye.
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez?
Aye.
Councilmember Flores?
Aye.
Councilmember Soto? Mayor Pro Tem Escobedo?
Aye.
Thank you, Mayor, council members.
Thank you very much, Mr. Posada.
Thank you.
Okay. The last item on the agenda is a regular business item, the introduction of an ordinance designating fire hazard severity zones in the city of Santa Maria. And our Department Fire Marshal, Jim Austin, will be making the presentation. Good evening, Mr. Austin.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, esteemed council members. I come before you tonight to introduce a proposed ordinance to recognize newly designated high fire severity zones within the city of Santa Maria. In February of this year, the Office of the State Fire Marshal began a phased rollout of new high hazard severity designations for local governments. Over 200 cities received this new designation. So, meaning that prior to this, the city of Santa Maria did not have any designated high fire zones. And over 200 cities after this new phased approach now have designated high fire severity zones. On March 10th, the Office of the State Fire Marshal published the City of Santa Maria, Santa Barbara County Local Responsibility Area Fire Hazard Severity Zone. That's a mouthful. The Santa Maria Fire Department received the official transmittal from the State Fire Marshal's Office on March 12th. Part of it was, okay, so the map designated a small area in the northeast portion of the city near the Santa Maria River, and another small area in the southeast portion of the city near the Santa Maria Airport as moderate fire hazard severity zone. Moderate is the lowest of the three, so there's moderate, there's high, and there's very high. CAL FIRE used the best available science and data to develop and field test a model that served the basis for the zone assignments. The model evaluated the probability of area burning and potential fire behavior in the area of study. Factors included fire history, vegetation, flame length, blowing embers, proximity to wildland terrain, and weather. So the areas that have been designated, and I knew there was no way I could make this map big enough for these screens, but as you can see, the northeast, up on the upper right, the upper right corner, that's the riverbed, and then it comes in a little bit into the city. Down below there, that's the area where near the airport, or like Pioneer Park and that area. So the map, when I zeroed in on it on an ArcGIS layer, the streets that in the northeast area are Sway Crossing Road, Bull Canyon, Floyd Court, Via Inez, Panther Drive, Via Viz, Via Helio, Centennial Street, Sutter Street, Mount Whitney Way, Grass Valley Way, Winchester Way, and Donner Court. In the southwest area, it's Citation Court that's on the airport, portions of Blosser, Foster Road, Mitchell Road, which is also on the airport, and then Pioneer Park and the service roads, Blosser Road at Union Valley Parkway, and Foster Road at California Boulevard. So the areas identified on the local responsibility area fire hazard severity zone map as identified by the state are already developed. Northeast, near the riverbed, it's already built out. You got a neighborhood there that was built, decades ago. So there's no real possibility of building there. The other areas are the area operation, the airport area operation, which you can't build there because you need a certain amount of distance and space for landing aircraft. The impacts that we expect are basically none. Construction and maintenance requirement will remain the same as before the new state designation. I've consulted with the building official, and those areas really only have one or two of these factors. They don't have them all. The areas are pretty much well maintained, vegetation-wise, construction, the houses are well taken care of. And then, of course, the airport, although they have vegetation, we're just not going to be building there. And so the state mandated that we notify the public within 30 days of receiving the transmittal letter, which we did on March 21st. We are also required to adopt a ordinance designating fire hazard severity zones as identified on the map within 120 days of receiving that transmittal. And that's why I'm here tonight. And then after the ordinance is adopted, I have to provide a copy of the ordinance to the Department of Forestry and Fire Protection within 30 days of adoption. But that is literally email to them. They have a special email account set up for that. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm willing to entertain any questions.
Any questions from the council?
I have.
Yes, Mr. Escobedo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was looking at the map, and there is Airport Mobile Home Park. Does that one would fall under that one?
Yes.
And my question would be, if so, is there any, with this population, will it impact the homeowners? Will they be impact in some way, or how would that work?
So I can't predict everything, I'll be upfront about that. But in my opinion, again, it's an established trailer park. There's not a lot of vegetation around it. The area is flat, so the topography doesn't promote, fire growth, going uphill, winds and things like that. So in my opinion, no. But remember, mobile home parks are also state regulated, and so they may have some influence over it. I've reached out to the state with several questions. They've answered some, and I don't know if it's a terse response, not responding to me on some of them, because one of the questions is, over 200 cities are surprised by this. What if they don't get it done in 120 days? They didn't respond to that one.
And then one of the things that comes to me is insurance. I think that's would they be impact on homeowners insurance?
Okay, so I am going to read what the insurance commissioner, the state commissioner put out, Ricardo Lara, and then I'm going to add a little bit of personal perspective to this. CAL FIRE maps are intended to drive local planning decisions, not insurance decisions. Under Commissioner Lara's new regulations finalized in October of 2022, insurance companies must provide discounts for wildfire safety actions, such as community mitigation and home hardening, which CAL FIRE maps do not assess. In addition, insurance companies are already using risk analysis tools and models that go beyond CAL FIRE's proposed maps in determining what properties they will underwrite. That being said, insurance companies are private. Yes, they're regulated, but since they're a private company, they can choose who and where they want to insure. And so I don't want to tell the public that you won't have your insurance reevaluate you. I personally have a property in a high fire severity zone, and we struggled to keep insurance on that property. Actually, currently, we have the only semi-state, not funded, but regulated, because the other insurance companies have decided they just don't want to insure properties in those areas. Very similar to what Florida is struggling with because, along the coast and hurricanes and things like that. So although the state commissioner says you shouldn't, I can't say that they won't.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Aguilar Hernandez.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Escobedo.
Aye.
Councilmember Flores.
Aye.
Councilmember Soto.
Aye.
And Mayor Patino.
Aye. The next item will be a report by City Manager David Rowlands. Thank you, Mr. Austin.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, City Council, just a couple items upcoming. We have the Peace Officers Memorial Day proclamation. We have the National Public Works Week proclamation, the Municipal Clerks Week proclamation, and the big one, Go Rodeos Days proclamation. I understand it's very big up here. We get to dress in Western wear, so I'm looking forward to this. Also that night, we are going to have our swearing in for our new police chief. We're also having the introduction of our new finance director. There will be a request to cancel the May 20th City Council meeting. And we'll have a hearing for a downtown permit for the El Super grocery store, which is the former Sears building. And that's all I have for this evening, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So now we can hear from the oral reports of council members. You're going to start? Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I attended on April 5th the Elks Queens Dinner Kickoff. I went to the opening of the SB Foundation office on, their new office on Broadway, and I attended the Women Lawyer Association meeting on the 10th.
Thank you. Councilmember Soto? Nothing. Councilmember Flores?
I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony for the CRR Autism Awareness, Community Unify. I went to the Elks Lodge Dinner and Auction, ribbon cutting ceremony for the Scholarship Foundation. Their new office is on Broadway.
Thank you. Mr. Escobedo?
Nothing to report.
Okay. On the 3rd, I attended a LAFCO board meeting. On the 5th, which was a Saturday, El Toro Loco Supermarket opened up on the northwest side of town, which was the old Wellenkamp building. So they have really improved the building and the parking lot in that area. I attended the Elks Queen Kickoff Dinner and Auction that evening. On the 7th, I attended a meeting on food truck vendors. On the 8th, I did a tour of some affordable housing projects that we have going on in Santa Maria. And on the 9th, I attended the Marian Breakfast with the President. And that evening, I spoke to the Altrusa Club. Well, I spoke to these junior high students, and the Altrusa every year has these kids, junior high kids, and they honor them at a dinner. And they're chosen by the principal of the school for doing altruistic things, and they also may have very good grades, and they are involved in the schools, and they're really shining examples of our young students today. And at the Ben Hayes show this morning. Anything else? If not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.